The aluminum pool net whistled through the air, missing Maya's head by inches as she dove sideways into the shallow end. Water exploded around her as Karen Whitmore, 53 years old, HOA president, and self-appointed neighborhood enforcers, the weapon again with murderous intent. "You don't belong here," Karen shrieked, her manicured nails gripping the handle like a spear. But Maya had already pulled out her phone, finger hovering over 911, and what happened next would shatter Karen's perfect suburban kingdom forever. Because some people think they own the world until they discover the world has laws. Maya Rodriguez had been cleaning pools for 7 years, and she'd never seen anything like the fury burning in Karen Whitmore's eyes. "I said, get out." Karen's voice cracked like a whip across the pristine backyard of 247 Maple Grove Lane. The HOA president stood at the edge of her infinity pool, clutching a long-handled skimmer net like a medieval weapon, her blonde highlights catching the harsh afternoon sun. Maya straightened slowly from where she'd been testing the chlorine levels, her dark ponytail dripping pool water onto the Italian marble deck. "Ma'am, I'm here on a service call. Mr. Peterson scheduled. I don't care what that senile old fool scheduled." Karen's face had turned an alarming shade of purple that clashed with her tennis whites. "No one does work in Willow Creek Estates without my approval." The absurdity of the situation might have been funny, if not for the genuine menace radiating from Karen's compact frame. Maya had dealt with difficult clients before: entitled housewives who treated service workers like furniture, contractors who tried to shortchange her because of her accent, HOA busybodies who found fault with everything. But this felt different. This felt dangerous. "Look, Mrs. Whitmore, I understand there might be some confusion. It's not confusion, it's violation." Karen took a step closer, the net's aluminum frame gleaming. Section 4.2 of the HOA covenant clearly states that all exterior maintenance must be pre-approved by the architectural committee. That's me. Maya's jaw tightened. She'd been doing this job since she was 19, working her way through community college, building a client base that now supported her 2 younger brothers and helped pay for her mother's medical bills. She knew the rules, knew her rights, and she definitely knew when someone was trying to intimidate her. "Mr. Peterson is the homeowner," Maya said carefully, pulling out her phone to show the work order. "He has every right to hire whoever he wants to service his pool. The HOA can't. Don't you dare tell me what the HOA can and can't do." Her grip on the net tightened, her knuckles white. "I've been protecting property values in this neighborhood since before you were born." Maya was 26, but she didn't bother correcting the math. Instead, she noticed how Karen's stance had shifted, how the woman was positioning herself between Maya and the gate that led back to the street, how the net had moved from a cleaning tool to something that looked suspiciously like a weapon. "I'm going to finish my work and leave," Maya said evenly. "Mr. Peterson is expecting his pool to be ready for his grandson's birthday party tomorrow." "Over my dead body." Karen's voice dropped to a whisper that somehow felt more threatening than her earlier shouting. "This is my neighborhood. These are my rules, and people like you need to learn their place." The words hit Maya like a physical blow. People like you, there it was. The ugly truth that had been lurking beneath Karen's righteous indignation about HOA bylaws and proper procedures. This wasn't about regulations or property values or architectural committees. This was about a brown girl with calloused hands who dared to exist in Karen's pristine white world. Maya's phone was already in her hand, but she didn't dial 911. Not yet. Instead, she opened her camera app and hit record. "Ma'am, I'm documenting this interaction for my safety," she said calmly. "I'm going to pack up my equipment and leave now." Karen's eyes fixed on the phone like a laser sight, and something shifted in her expression, a flicker of uncertainty, then rage so pure it made the air between them crackle. "You're recording me, on my property." Karen raised the net higher, and Maya realized with crystal clarity that this woman was about to attack her. Time slowed. Karen swung the net in a vicious arc aimed at Maya's head. Maya threw herself sideways, hitting the pool deck hard as the aluminum frame whistled past her ear. The phone went flying, skittering across the marble and splashing into the shallow end. "You crazy," Maya started to say, but Karen was already raising the net again, her face twisted with something beyond anger, beyond reason. "I'll teach you to respect your betters." Karen brought the net down like an axe, and Maya rolled desperately toward the pool's edge. The aluminum frame cracked against the marble where her head had been a split second before. Maya's survival instincts kicked in 7 years of hauling equipment, scrubbing tile, and wrestling with industrial pool cleaners had left her stronger than she looked. She surged to her feet just as Karen raised the net for a third strike. This time, Maya was ready. She caught the handle in both hands, wrenching it sideways with enough force to send Karen stumbling. The older woman's grip held, but her footing, didn't she, tottered backward, arms windmilling wildly, before toppling into her own infinity pool with a splash that sent chlorinated water cascading over the deck. Maya stood there, breathing hard, still holding the net, watching Karen flail in the 4-foot deep water like an overturned turtle in designer whites. "Help!" Karen sputtered, her perfect hair now plastered to her skull. "Someone help me. She's trying to drown me." The irony wasn't lost on Maya. She dropped the net and pulled out her backup phone. She'd learned to carry two after too many accidents on job sites. 911. What's your emergency? "I'd like to report an assault," Maya said clearly, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "A woman just attacked me with a pool cleaning net. I'm at 247 Maple Grove Lane in Willow Creek Estates." Karen had managed to find her footing and was now standing waist-deep in her own pool, mascara streaming down her cheeks like war paint. "You can't be serious. I'm the victim here. This is my house." "Ma'am, are you injured?" the dispatcher asked. Maya looked down at her scraped palms, at the torn knee of her work pants, at the bruise already forming on her hip where she'd hit the deck. "Yes, I have minor injuries from defending myself. Units are en route. Please stay on the line." Karen had climbed out of the pool and was advancing again, soaking wet and furious. "You think you can come into my neighborhood and assault me? I know people. I know judges." "I'll have you deported before." "Before what?" Maya asked quietly. "Before I press charges for assault with a deadly weapon. Before the video I was recording gets uploaded to the cloud. Before your neighbors see you attacking a service worker half your size." Karen's face went white beneath her smeared makeup. "What video?" Maya held up her backup phone, still recording. "The one that shows you swinging a metal pole at my head." Twice, the sound of sirens began to echo through the upscale neighborhood. Growing louder with each passing second, Maya could see curtains twitching in windows. Neighbors emerging from their McMansions to gawk at the spectacle unfolding in their precious Willow Creek Estates. Karen Whitmore, HOA, president and self-appointed queen of Maple Grove Lane, stood dripping in her own driveway, suddenly realizing that all her connections, all her committees, all her carefully constructed authority meant nothing when faced with a simple truth: the law applied to everyone, even her. Officer Marcus Chen had seen enough domestic disputes, neighborhood feuds, and HOA meltdowns to fill a small library. But the scene at 247 Maple Grove Lane was something special. A soaking wet, middle-aged woman in tennis whites was pacing the driveway like a caged animal, gesticulating wildly at a young Latina woman who stood calmly beside a pile of pool cleaning equipment, phone in hand. "Thank God you're here." Karen rushed toward the patrol car before Chen had even fully stepped out. "This woman broke into my backyard and attacked me. I demand you arrest her immediately." Chen held up a hand, his dark eyes taking in the scene with practiced assessment. 23 years on the force had taught him that the loudest voice was rarely telling the truth. "Ma'am, please step back and let me sort this out." Step back, Karen's voice climbed toward hysteria. "I am Karen Whitmore, president of the Willow Creek Estates, HOA. I know Commissioner Bradley personally. I golf with Judge Morrison's wife. You will arrest this criminal right now." Maya watched the exchange with a mixture of fascination and dread. She'd called the police, yes, but that didn't guarantee they'd believe her. She'd heard too many stories, seen too many news reports about situations like this going sideways. Chen's partner, Officer Sarah Kowalski, had emerged from the passenger. Saiden was already documenting the scene with her body camera. "Sir, I need to speak with both parties separately." "Ma'am," she addressed Maya, "are you injured?" "Minor scrapes and bruises," Maya replied, showing her scraped palms. "She came at me with that pool net. Twice." "Lies," Karen shrieked. "All lies. She attacked me. Look at mine soaking wet." She pushed me into my own pool. Chen studied Karen's bedraggled appearance, then glanced at Maya's torn pants and visible injuries. His expression remained neutral, but Maya caught something in his eyes, a flicker of skepticism toward Karen's story. "Let's start from the beginning." Chen said, "Ma'am, what's your name?" He was looking at Maya. "Maya Rodriguez. I'm with Aquay Clear Pool Services." She handed him her business card and work order. "I was hired by the homeowner, Robert Peterson, to service this pool for a birthday party tomorrow." "Mr. Peterson doesn't live here," Karen interjected. "This is my house, my pool." Chen frowned. "Ma'am, whose property is this?" "It's mine, obviously. But that old fool Peterson, he lives next door. He thinks he can just send his little workers wherever he wants without consulting me." Maya blinked. "Wait, you attacked me for working on someone else's pool." The pieces clicked into place with almost audible precision. Chen looked from the house number to Maya's work order, then back at Karen. "Ma'am, this work order is for 245 Maple Grove Lane, Mr. Peterson's house." Karen's face went through several. "Color changes, well, yes, but she was in my backyard. She had no right to be on my property." "Actually," Maya said quietly, "I was never on your property. Mr. Peterson's pool shares a fence line with yours. I was working on his side when you came charging over with the net." Officer Kowalski was already walking toward the property line. Examining the chain-link fence that separated the 2 yards, "There's a gate here," she called out. "Unlocked, and I can see pool equipment on the Peterson side." The implications hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Karen had crossed onto someone else's property to attack a worker who had every right to be there. That's not the point," Karen stammered. She was disturbing the peace, making noise. "I have every right to protect my property values by assaulting someone with a weapon." Chen's voice had taken on an edge. "Ma'am, where is this pool net?" Maya pointed to where she'd dropped it beside the infinity pool. Chen examined the aluminum handle, noting its weight and the fresh scratches on the marble deck where it had struck. "Ms. Rodriguez, you mentioned recording this incident." Maya's heart hammered as she pulled out her backup phone. This was the moment of truth. Either the video would vindicate her, or Karen's connections and social standing would somehow twist the narrative. She played the footage. The phone's speakers crackled with Karen's voice. "People like you need to learn their place." Then the sickening whistle of the net through the air, Maya's desperate dive, the crack of aluminum against stone. Chen and Kowalski watched in silence. Even Karen seemed hypnotized by her own image on the small screen, watching herself swing a metal pole at another human being's head with murderous intent. When the video ended, the silence stretched like a taut wire. "Ma'am," Chen said finally, his voice completely professional, "you're under arrest for assault with a deadly weapon." "What?" Karen's shriek could probably be heard 3 blocks away. "You can't arrest me. I'm the victim here." "You have the right to remain silent," Chen continued, producing handcuffs. "Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. This is insane. I know you're superior. I'll have your badge." Karen's voice cracked as the cuffs clicked around her wrists. "You can't do this to me. I'm important. I matter." A small crowd had gathered, neighbors drawn by the sirens and shouting. Maya recognized some faces from other houses she'd serviced. People who usually looked through her like she was invisible furniture. Now they were staring phones out, recording Karen Whitmore's very public meltdown. "This is discrimination." Karen continued as Chen guided her toward the patrol car. "Reverse racism. I'm being persecuted for being white." One of the neighbors, an elderly black man Maya recognized as Mr. Washington from 3 streets over, shook his head sadly. "Karen, you just attacked a young woman with a pool net. On camera, maybe focus on that instead of your melanin." "Shut up, Harold. This doesn't concern you." "Actually," Mr. Washington replied mildly, "assaults in our neighborhood concern all of us." Maya stood there feeling surreal, like she was watching someone else's life unfold. 6 months ago, she'd started carrying a second phone specifically because of incidents like this, though none had ever escalated to actual violence. The pool cleaning business had taught her that some people saw her as less than human, but she'd never imagined someone would literally try to bludgeon her for doing her job. Officer Kowalski approached while her partner finished loading Karen into the back seat. Ms. Rodriguez, I'll need you to come to the station to file a formal complaint and provide a copy of that video." "What happens now?" Maya asked. "Now she gets booked, and the district attorney decides what charges to file. With video evidence this clear, and given that she used a weapon, ... double quotes Kowalski shrugged, she's looking at serious jail time." From the patrol car came muffled shouts about lawyers and connections, and how this was all a terrible mistake. I almost felt sorry for her almost. Then she remembered the look in Karen's eyes right before the first swing. The pure hatred, the dehumanizing certainty that someone like Maya deserved whatever violence came her way. No, she didn't feel sorry at all. As the police car pulled away, taking Karen Whitmore toward her first encounter with consequences, Maya finally allowed herself to breathe. She pulled out her phone to call Mr. Peterson and explained why his pool might be delayed. But first, she had one more call to make. "Mom," she said when the familiar voice answered, "you're not going to believe what just happened. But Mom, ... I think I'm finally going to be okay, because sometimes the system worked exactly like it was supposed to, even for people like her." The Willow Creek Estates Community Facebook group had seen its share of drama disputes over garbage pickup schedules, complaints about holiday decorations, heated debates over acceptable lawn heights, but nothing had prepared its 847 members for the video that Harold Washington posted at 11:47 p.m., 3 hours after Karen Whitmore's arrest. "Assault in our neighborhood today," his caption read simply, "We need to do better." Maya's phone buzzed incessantly as she sat in her small apartment, filling out police paperwork by lamplight. Friend requests, message notifications, missed calls from numbers she didn't recognize, the video of Karen's attack crystal clear. Undeniably damning had gone viral within the insular world of suburban social media. Her doorbell rang at midnight. Maya peered through the peephole to see Mrs. Chen from 2 blocks over, holding a casserole dish and looking embarrassed. Behind her stood the Hendersons from Oakwood Drive, and the Patels from Cedar Circle, and at least 6 other neighbors Maya recognized but had never actually spoken to. "We're so sorry," Mrs. Chen said when Maya cautiously opened the door. "About Karen, about how we never said anything before when she what?" Maya asked quietly. The group exchanged uncomfortable glances. Mr. Henderson cleared his throat. "Karen's been making comments for years about the landscaping crews, the cleaning services, anyone who didn't look like us. We thought it was just Karen being Karen. Just Karen being racist." "You mean," said a voice from the back. Maya was surprised to see Jennifer Morrison, Judge Morrison's daughter-in-law, who Karen had mentioned during her meltdown. "My kids go to school with families Karen has harassed. She called the cops on the Martinez family for having a Quincy." That was too loud. She tried to get the HOA to ban food trucks because they were lowering property values. Maya felt something crack open in her chestnut. Quite forgiveness, but understanding. "Why didn't anyone ever say anything?" "Because we're cowards," Mrs. Patel said bluntly. "We didn't want to rock the boat. We told ourselves it wasn't our problem." She held out a plate of homemade samosas. "We were wrong." The impromptu gathering moved to Maya's living room, where she found herself at the center of conversations she'd never imagined having. These people whose pools she'd cleaned, whose lawns she'd mowed, whose existence she'd orbited invisibly for years, were finally seeing her as human. "The HOA board is meeting tomorrow night," Mrs. Chen said. "Emergency session. Karen's being removed as president. Who's replacing her?" Jennifer Morrison looked nervous. "We were hoping you might consider joining the board. You know this neighborhood better than anyone." Maya stared. "You want Meetha woman, your former president, just tried to assault to help run your HOA, especially because of that," Mr. Henderson said firmly. "We need someone who understands what it's like to be on the receiving end of Karen's kind of ... oversight." At 2 a.m., after her neighbors had finally left, Maya sat surrounded by enough food to feed her for a week and a stack of business cards from people offering references, connections, opportunities. Her phone showed 127 missed calls from local news stations. The doorbell rang again. This time it was Robert Peterson, the elderly man whose pool had started this entire mess. He looked exhausted and guilt-stricken. "I'm so sorry," he said without preamble. "If I hadn't asked you to come today, Mr. Peterson, this isn't your fault, isn't it? His watery blue eyes were bright with unshed tears. "I knew Karen didn't like you. She complained every time she saw your truck in the neighborhood. I should have said something, done something." Maya invited him in, made coffee, and listened as he told her about his grandson's birthday party, how the 7-year-old had specifically requested the nice pool lady to be there because she always made silly faces at him through the fence. "He drew you a picture," Mr. Peterson said, pulling a crayon drawing from his pocket. It showed a stick figure with long black hair cleaning a blue rectangle, surrounded by hearts and smiley faces. Pool Lady Maya was written in careful 7-year-old script. Maya felt tears threaten for the first time since the attack. Not from trauma or fear, but from the sudden recognition of her own visibility, the realization that she mattered to people she'd never expected to notice her. Meanwhile, 12 miles away in the county jail, Karen Whitmore was having the worst night of her life. The orange jumpsuit was polyester. The mattress was thin plastic. The cell smelled like disinfectant and despair. But none of that compared to the humiliation of her booking photo being shared across every social media platform in the Tri-County area. Hashtag Karen gets arrested was trending. Hashtag PoolNetKaren had 50,000 shares. Her daughter Brittany had called from college, crying, "Mom, my friends are sending me the video. How could you do this?" Her husband Richard had been even worse. "Karen, what the hell is wrong with you? I'm getting calls from partners at the firm. This is going to destroy us." The public defender who'd been assigned to her, Kaisa, woman with gray roots and no patience for Karen's protests about needing a real lawyer, had been brutally honest. "Mrs. Whitmore, you're on video, committing aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. The victim has visible injuries. You have no defense, but she was trespassing. She was on Mr. Peterson's property, doing work he hired her to do. You crossed onto his property and attacked her with a metal pole." The public defender shuffled her papers. "The DA is talking about hate crime enhancements. Hate crime? That's ridiculous. I'm not racist." The lawyer stared at her. "Ma'am, there's video of you saying people like you need to learn their place." Right before you tried to hit her with a pool net, Karen's world tilted. In her mind, she'd been protecting her neighborhood, maintaining standards, preserving order. The idea that she was the villain in this story was incomprehensible. But reality had a way of breaking through delusion, especially when it came with handcuffs and a court date. At 6 a.m., as Maya was finally falling asleep after the strangest night of her life, Karen was being processed for release on bail that Richard had to liquidate their vacation fund to pay. She walked out of jail to find news vans waiting, reporters shouting questions, cameras flashing. "Mrs. Whitmore, do you have any comment about the assault charges?" "Mrs. Whitmore, is it true you've been harassing service workers for years?" "Mrs. Whitmore, how do you respond to calls for your resignation from the HOA?" Karen pulled her jacket over her head and ran for Richard's car, but the damage was done. By noon, every local news station was running the story. By evening, it had been picked up nationally. The woman who had spent her life trying to control everyone around her had become the thing she feared most. A cautionary tale about the consequences of unchecked privilege, and in her small apartment, surrounded by gifts from neighbors who finally saw her as human. Maya Rodriguez slept peacefully for the first time in years. Justice, it turned out, was better than any security system money could buy.